What's going on? What's up, man? What's up? What's up, everybody? I appreciate y'all coming through the show. I appreciate y'all checking out the channel. Whatever platform you're on, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, make sure you do all of those things. Share the video, like the video, and once you subscribe, make sure that you turn on the notification bell. I really would appreciate it. And once again, I appreciate y'all coming through and welcome to the show. I want to talk about a little bit of men's mental health and just kind of see where everybody stands and what y'all think because I had a question that I posed in the chat and it says do people really care about men's mental health? And that's what I want to know. I want to know if people really care about men's mental health because honestly I don't think so. I think it's more programs in this country and other things that are geared towards uh mental health or just any types of services for women, but it's not enough that's geared towards helping out men or trying to improve our lives. I think that a lot of things have just kind of fallen to the wayside when it comes to men. Give me a second here. I'm still getting started. I was in the middle of doing something when I loaded up the stream. Yeah, I was trying to figure out where do y'all stand on this issue when it comes to men's mental health. Now we know the other day because I'm a Cowboys fan, I always keep up with the Cowboys and Marshawn Nealon, who was a draft pick for the Cowboys a year or so ago, he committed suicide. And at first, they didn't know what happened. Nobody really knew what happened. We just heard that a Dallas Cowboy player had died. We didn't know if he committed suicide. We didn't know if it was an accident, if he ran into some, had an accident. We didn't know what the issue was. But it come later to find out that he actually committed suicide. He was having some issues. I think his mom had passed away the year before. So I'm guessing he was dealing with some things internally that he never got resolved. But I was listening to Tommy's show earlier and he was on X when I was listening to it, and I don't know. I just listened to it for a little bit, but he was making a point that because of these recent draft picks that the Cow not draft picks, but these recent players that the Cowboys have acquired through trades that they were about to cut Marshawn Nealon. And I don't know if that's true or not. I don't believe that because I think he was a decent enough player that he was going to be around. He was just going to be lower on the depth chart. I didn't hear anything about Marshawn getting cut or being traded I didn't hear anything about that because the trade had already went through. If he was going to be cut, he would have been cut before they completed that trade. But obviously, he was still there. Like I said, I don't know what the background story was to that, but I didn't hear some of the things that Tommy was saying. But Tommy, sometimes he can be a little bit controversial. He tries to promote certain thoughts in people and tries to get certain things going just for the sake of discussion. But who knows what it was? But yeah, I was trying to figure out what do y'all think about men's mental health. I honestly don't feel like it's enough uh, 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 spotlight being put on men's mental health when it comes to how we dealing with things, how we feel. I don't feel like anybody really cares. I think they say that they care or they say that they're concerned, but I don't think they are. Even when you see men and families, the man is the one who makes sure the family is taken care of, people are healthy, people are fed, people are clothed, they have what they need, but nobody really cares how men feel. Nobody really cares like to say how is your day. And I've said that on my podcast. I don't think enough women in general just ask a man how's his day going, how are you feeling today. I never get that. Anytime I've just text a woman or just spoken to her in general conversation, and I always say like, "How you doing today? What's going on? How you feeling?" And most of the time they say, "Oh, I'm good," or "I'm doing this," "I'm about to do that." It's been maybe a handful of them, very few that have actually said, "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" Most of the time, they just tell me how they doing, and they just go on to some other conversation. It never crosses their mind to see how I'm feeling that day, what I'm thinking about, what I'm going through. They just don't care. But I did want to also, when I'm talking about this Marshawn Kneeling thing, and I had those questions, I want to let y'all know that if you want to join in the discussion today, I have the link at the bottom of the screen. If it's not at the bottom of the screen for some of y'all, check the comment section, hit that link, come up and join the show. I really would appreciate it so we can have a conversation. Everybody is welcome to join. It's all there. Let's talk about it. But I did have an article right here from CBS News, and it was about the Marshawn Needling incident that happened the other day where he committed suicide. And these are just some of the facts from that case. It says Nealon appears to have been involved in a police chase Wednesday night. According to DPS troopers, attempted to stop a vehicle for a traffic violation. The driver refused to stop, resulting in pursuit with DPS officers. The pursuit was eventually terminated after troopers lost sight of the vehicle. Police were asked to do a welfare check on Nealon just before midnight. At 11:40 p.m., the Plano Police Department got a call for a welfare concern associated with Miss Nealon, according to the Fort Worth Star Telegram. Authorities made their way to Nealon's residence, but they didn't make contact with anyone during the visit. And I'm sure that was in part due to the girlfriend or the fiance, whoever she was. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure she was the one who made this call because she was very concerned about Marshawn Nealon's mental health at that point, and I think he was having an episode, and she wanted to see if the police could come by and help her out. It also says troopers later found the car they had been pursuing, but it was abandoned and had been involved in the crash. After searching the area near the crash, police found Nealon at 1:31 a.m. deceased from what appears to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The Cowboys announced his passing on Thursday. This is what they said. They said, with extreme sadness that the Dallas Cowboys share that Marshawn Nealon tragically passed away this morning. Marshawn was a beloved teammate and a member of our organization. Now, I'll speak on this. As a Cowboys fan, I did, kind of keep up with some of the, I keep up with a lot of the players, in my spare time. And I never heard any bad things about Marshawn Nealon. I never heard anything about him being a bad teammate. I never heard of anything about him having mental health issues or disruptive to the team. I only heard good things about him. And I know they always liked him because when he did play, he played pretty good. I remember his rookie year. It was like a preseason game. I was like, okay, he seems to be a good player. And I think he eventually got hurt, but overall, I thought he would be one of those players that would take a few years and eventually he would make the starting roster somewhere, and if not with the Cowboys, with somebody else, because he didn't seem like a bum on the field. He never appeared to me as somebody who was a bum. He always seemed very capable of doing his job on the field. So, like Tommy was saying earlier, when I did watch his podcast, he was making a point that maybe Marshawn was going to get cut because of these recent trades and these players that the Cowboys had acquired. But I didn't see that. I didn't know anything about that, and I didn't hear that. I think he was honestly just making that up for the sake of his conversation on his show. But overall, I don't see Marshawn being that type of player who was about to get cut. I thought he was going to be there for a while. He was going to eventually be the second stringer or a starter, because the Cowboys, if you watch them, they like to swap out a lot of the linemen from time to time. And that's what a lot of teams do now. A lot of teams swap out these defensive linemen just so they can constantly keep pressure on these quarterbacks. And he was very capable of getting pressure on the quarterback. He was making tackles in the backfield. He was a decent player, or I think he was eventually going to be one of the better players that we did have. I think he was a pretty good pick. Now it goes on to say Jonathan Persley, who represents Nealon, had this to say on Thursday morning. I am shattered to confirm that my client and dearest friend Marshawn Nealon passed away last night. I watched him fight his way from a hopeful kid at Western Michigan with a dream to being a respected professional for the Dallas Cowboys. Marshawn poured his heart into every snap, every practice, and every moment on the field. To lose someone with this talent, spirit, and goodness is a pain I can hardly put in words. Nealon scored his first touchdown just 3 days ago, and I can show y'all that real quick because that was really, that was crazy when I heard it. I was like, dang, he had just scored a touchdown. You know what I mean? He had just scored a touchdown, and so that was kind of shocking to me. Hold on, I don't think I. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't put it up there. My bad. Here we go. This was the touchdown. This was Monday Night Football against the Cardinals. It was a block punt. He ended up scoring a touchdown.
O'Donnell has it blocked into the end zone in a race. And a touchdown. Sam Williams blocked it. Nealon the touchdown.
So that was Nealon. He got the touchdown, which was very, I was glad. I was happy for him. I'm just happy for any Cowboy to do anything. If you know me, I'm just, you know, I want them to win. They're not really that good this year, but I do want them to win. But I think he did a great job. Just for the sake of it, let's just watch it again because I think that was a great moment. I would say to end his career, but I mean, before he passed, I think it was a great moment for him.
O'Donnell has it blocked into the end zone in a race. And a touchdown. Sam Williams blocked it. Nealon the touchdown.
And so there you have it. He scored that touchdown, which is great for him. I think it was just sad to hear that he went, but to know that he had some mental issues and what was going on with him emotionally, his mom had recently passed the year before. So a lot of people they don't take that well. A lot of people they, when it comes to their parents, especially once you've made it to the point in your career where it's like, okay, now I'm a professional athlete. I was raised a certain way. I was pushed a certain way in my life. I've done things because of this person, and I'm glad that they get to see me make it to this point in my career. And now they're gone. And maybe he just couldn't deal with that. Maybe he was battling with these things for that whole time after she passed, and we just never knew anything about it. Or maybe Tommy was right. Maybe he was about to get cut. And maybe he was thinking, I'm never going to get to play again. My mom passed. Now I'm not going to get to play again. I'm not going to be a professional athlete. In my opinion, I don't think that was true. I think somebody would have easily picked him up and put him on their roster. He was not, I don't think he was the type of player where it's like, oh, he's a bum. I don't think he was a bum at all. I don't think he was a bum at all. But like I say, do y'all think that people really care about men's mental health this day and age? We could look and go back in time where men were more of a priority than they were now. Because now they're not a priority. They're not a priority. And the stigma of just being a man, it has cultural expectations of being a man, tough, emotional, self-reliant. And those things can actually stop us from speaking up. So a lot of times, men, we hold things in. We don't really talk about it. We don't express ourselves the way that some people want us to express ourselves. But the thing about being a man is it's hard to express yourself when if you do, it can actually be a detriment to you to say, look, I feel this way. I'm feeling down right now. I don't feel like I'm myself. And if you know anything about that, especially having a family or being the person that everyone looks up to take care of others, they're going to look at you like, this is a weak person. We can't count on him. You never want to feel like that as a man. You never want to feel like people can look at you and say, oh, I can't count on this person. He's not reliable. I don't know what he's going to be from day to day. I don't know how he's going to act. I don't know what's going through his mind. And I think those things are some of the things that has actually caused people to just not ask us enough questions. Because a lot of people don't ask enough questions when it comes to me. Like I say, they never say, how you doing? How's your day going? How are you feeling? What's going on with you? I can see that something is disturbing you. People really don't ask that. Now, when it comes to women, people are constantly evaluating their emotions. They're like, ma'am, I see you, you're not feeling too well. You're not yourself today. Usually you're smiling and happy and whatnot. So I just want to know, are you okay? But when it comes to men, I think people they'll see a man and he doesn't look himself, and they just kind of like, well, let me not bother him. Let me not ask him something. I won't approach him. I'll leave him alone. And those aren't good to do. So i- in my opinion, it's just not enough resources and not enough programming out here for people to actually look out for men. I think it's not enough incentive to care about men's feelings. You know, we as men, we want to be known as the strong person, as the person who is the leader, as the person who is reliable. And when we don't feel that way, I think we feel like we're less than ourselves. Because I felt like that at times. Maybe when I lost a job or somebody passed away or something happened where I was like, man, I felt like I had more control over that situation and I couldn't resolve it. And I just couldn't resolve it. Uh, so yeah, before I keep going, make sure y'all like the video. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. If y'all want to join the show, the link is in the comment section. But yeah, hold on. I got the actual call here. I'm gonna get into that. It was a call between Marshawn Nealon's girlfriend and the police, and then I think it was just, for the most part, it was just the police realizing what happened to Marshawn and seeing what happened. And I'm gonna play that real quick.
We're talking to the girlfriend. She's trying to call his agent, but we're trying to get him to call her to call him first. But she's saying he is armed and has a history of mental illness, and her quote was, "He will end it all."
Good copy. You probably ran back to the car to get the gun. 10-4.
If she calls him, we'll let you know.
Good copy. All right, y'all do me a favor. Everybody stay with a buddy. Don't go looking alone. This guy is armed.
President, they just received a text from him, a group text from him saying goodbye. They're concerned for his welfare. They do not have a key to the apartment.
David said I copy. I advised on this call. We were just out there. There's nobody at the apartment. I'll contact him by phone.
We have a lieutenant calling in from Plano advising that the NFL is calling Plano PD and the subject is texting his family goodbye.
GPS 111, there's a porta potty on the south side of that building.
40, we got eyes on it. That's pretty much right exactly where 118 drew the circle. Y'all see a heat from that?
Yeah, 111. We got good eyes on. Looks like the door's open. Red liquid coming out from it. We just want to go ahead and work this safely before we have any officers approach. So let's get an arrest team and kind of go through this safely and tactically. I believe we got eyes on a drone right there. Still got eyes on the target inside that porta potty.
We're pushing the drone there now.
Okay, good copy. Just on our last orbit, we didn't see any movement. Still got that heat signature. Looks like it's curled up at the bottom of that porta potty. With the stream of blood coming from the porta potty.
Yeah, that's a 10-4. He's going to be laying on his side, facing inward, and quite a bit of blood coming out.
We're talking.
So yeah, right there you see where the incident was, where he ended up taking his life, and I guess the police ended up finding his body. But it just goes to show you that even when you're rich, or even when you have a lot of money, or because even though I think he was a second round pick, he's probably made more money just being a second round pick than a lot of people have in their lifetimes. And so it just goes to show you that even money can't fix a lot of people's problems, no matter how much money you have. If something is bothering you mentally, or you don't feel like yourself, or you know you don't feel like you've accomplished or done certain things in life, then money is not going to fix your problems. And this is what a lot of people say. Even people who have money, they'll tell you that. They'll say money doesn't solve all your problems. So once his mother died, I don't know if that was the thing that triggered him, or if he had mental issues, or felt suicidal before this. If he, because some people, they actually feel inadequate generally their whole life. He could have been a high school player and didn't get any girls. People didn't like him. And even though he growed up, as you can see, he could be somebody growed up, got bigger, stronger, end up getting a college scholarship, but he still looked at himself as less than. And that carried with him throughout his career and throughout his life. So you just never know what a lot of people are going through, and what a lot of men are going through, people don't understand. Because even me as a man, I'll tell you right now, I've had thoughts in my mind, points in my life where I didn't feel like I was doing enough or I made enough progress, and I actually had like suicidal thoughts. I mean, some of my parents do yeah, I think my parents know. Other people in my family, they've known about this. I don't feel like this anymore. I haven't felt like this since. Um, just my own experience. Uh, I think it was just because it was a tough time. I hit a rough spot in my life. And even though my life isn't what I want it to be now, I think that I'm way better than what I was. And things don't get me down as much as they used to. You know what I'm saying? Things don't get me down as easily as they did. I think in part it was due to the issues with my baby mom, going through child support, going through trying to get custody, trying to find out if I was going to get my daughter this weekend, how much money do I need to spend? I'm on child support. What is she going to want? Just all of these different issues. A lot of these things were pertaining to my daughter that I was dealing with. And I actually had an episode, I did, where I ended up having to go to the hospital. And the funny thing about this episode, it's crazy. Like, this is a wild story. But I ended up going to the hospital, and they brought a psychiatrist in to come talk to me and whatnot. And by that time, I came to this epiphany, like, no, I don't want to harm myself. You know what I'm saying? And when I did that, I had my friend come up there. I was like, bro, you got to get me out of here. They finna send me to the crazy house. Because I didn't know. But, they was really just going to send me to a mental evaluation place for like 24 hours or some shit like that. But I was thinking, oh my God, they finna send me away for the rest of my life. They think I'm crazy. So I had my friend come up there, and I said, you got to get me out of here. So he parked up front. I'm in the emergency room area. And I'm telling you, I still got the gown on, no underwear, all of this shit. It's crazy. I run out the ER. I go home. He take me home in his car. Once I get home, I'm sitting in the house with the lights off and everything. The fucking police come by. They knocking on the door. I'm not responding. Uh, Eventually they just kind of let it go. And no, the cops let it go. I ended up going back to the emergency room and telling them, what happened. I think I'm good. I had an episode for a moment, but once I thought that y'all was finna take me in, that's when my mind came back. I was like, no, I'm not crazy. But anyway, that's just a little story. But getting back to my point, society has actually forgotten about men's mental health. This is one of the reasons why families are the way that they are. Our society has went down the way that it has, is because a lot of things and a lot of people don't really take into consideration what we go through, what we experience as men, and they've just basically forgotten how we feel. And they just assume that we're tough enough to handle these situations, when a lot of times we are, but we're going through things mentally, and emotionally that we only going through it by ourselves, and nobody is there to speak to us. Nobody is there where we can bounce off our thoughts. Nobody is there to say, "Well, you're not wrong how you feeling, but this is what I would suggest." We don't have those type of things. You know what I'm saying? Because the idea of just asking for help, like I said, may be perceived as a weakness, and we never want to feel weak when it comes to these conversations. Men don't want to feel weak. We don't want to feel like we're not enough for people. We don't want to feel like you can't depend on us. That we never want that. So we I think we show depression, anxiety, irritability, anger, substance use sometimes, risk taking, withdrawals, and a lot of people just kind of overlook it. Our symptoms, they go unrecognized by our family members, by our friends, by people close to us. And a lot of times they can tell, okay, this person isn't quite themselves, but I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to get into what's really going on because maybe they could snap at me. We have different types of personalities. Some people lash out. Some people get angry. Some people are calm, overly calm, and you like, no, that person is too calm. That person is so calm where you like, I don't trust it. I don't know if I'm getting a good bead on what they thinking right now. So I'm gonna just leave it alone. You know, we should it should be more treatments or people that we can speak to freely. And I think when it comes to that, more so we can only speak to our brothers, our friends, without judgment. A lot of men, we need to speak to somebody and interact with people without judgment. The more people that we interact with without judgment, the better it is for us. Because even for me, if I had more experiences where I could interact with people without judgment, I think I would have gotten through my episode of what I was going through emotionally better. You know, um, if I had somebody who I could talk to and speak to on a daily basis and let them know how I feel, I think that I would have gotten through it better. Now, I go on to say this. A lot of times, men, we don't really want to express ourselves. It's hard for us to keep telling the other person, like, look, I feel this way. Um, on a daily basis or just a consistent basis. It's very hard to tell somebody how you feel as a man. Now, for women, I think it's pretty easy. They don't mind telling you how to feel. A woman doesn't mind telling you, yeah, I'm not feeling good today. I wish I could spend money on this. I wish I could go here. I haven't been able to travel in a while. I'm not feeling right. I wish I made more money. Like, women don't have that issue because more people are conditioned to know that women are emotional. Women have thoughts. Women have feelings. Women like to express themselves, and it's nothing for them to express themselves because it's expected, as I say. But when it comes to a man, a lot of people don't expect us to express ourselves. A lot of people don't expect us to say how we really feel. They expect us to always keep things in and that they have to interpret how we feel or what's going on with us at any given moment in time. Like barriers of shame, limited awareness of symptoms, fear of being judged, cost insurance issues, lack of male friendly services. All of these things come into play when we trying to seek help or some type of treatment. That shame, like I'm telling you, is a big thing when it comes to men. Shame is one of those things where it's just like, do I really want to tell somebody how I feel? Do I really want to explain myself to people? Because if I do, what could happen? And we know this as men, it's hard to express ourselves to women because we know once we be vulnerable, those things can be used against us. And when they're used against us, it's a wrap. We cannot trust you as a woman. If I tell you how I'm feeling when I'm very, very down, when I'm not myself, and I say, look, I'm having a rough time this week. I'm having a rough time today. I need you to understand what I'm going through. And a woman may play that role for a moment and be like, I'm here for you. I'm listening to you. I'm glad you told me how you feel. But if it goes on for too long, she's going to feel like you weak. And she may end up telling you, look, I can't deal with this. Look, I can't sit back and try to be a part of this family knowing that you're not right in the head. I gotta move on. Because we know that women will do that. Women will leave you at your worst moment. We know that women don't stick around for things like this. Now, men, when a woman is having her worst moments, we'll console her. We'll make sure she's okay. We'll make sure everything is fine in her life. And then once she gets up, maybe then we'll say, look, I'm out. I can't do this. But now while she's down, because we have something in us that as men that says, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. But we know that women they'll abandon you when you're down like that or when you're feeling a certain way. And I think people in the cases like Marshawn, maybe he felt like, yes, I can tell her, but if this is prolonged, how long can this go on before she realizes he's not the guy? He's not the one for me. He's not the one that I should try to hold down. Maybe he was feeling like that. Maybe he wasn't. But it is what it is, right? And like I was telling y'all, a lot of us deal with suicidal thoughts. A lot of us deal with thoughts that we never, ever want to tell people what's really going on with us. Now, women often have higher rates of diagnosed depression, anxiety, but men die by suicide at significantly higher rates. And the methods that we use tend to be more lethal. That comes to firearms, that comes to hangings, something that's, to be honest with you, it's going to be a painless, a quick death. Something that we're going to know that we're gone and we don't have to too much suffer. That's what we men, when we say we're going to commit suicide, that's what we do. But women, we know that they do deal with these things at a higher rate than us. But men, we're more to the point where we say if we feel in a certain way, then we just end it. Because, like I say, we don't typically talk to anybody. We just do it. We just look. It's over with. I'm feeling this way. I realize that I can't talk to anybody. I realize that there's nobody for me to console. There's nobody. There's nobody for me to confide in. There's nobody for me to express my thoughts to. So the only thing for me to do is to end it and make your life easier and make my life easier. And that's what we typically go through as men, certain things like that. Now, I'm not saying every man has been through that or every man has had those thoughts, but the ones that do, including me, because I've had these thoughts as well, those are the things that goes through our mind. And I'm just being honest with you. Okay. How can we prevent this stuff? People say peer support, community, safe spaces for men to share. But this is what I'm saying. Where are these safe spaces? Where is this community for men? Nobody talks about anything for men. In this day and age, in this society, nobody talks about anything to help men. If you watch the news, if you see any programs, if you see anything promoting anything on TV, it's going to be about women and children. They're going to say, how can we get more women involved in this program? How can we get more women involved in this job market? How can we get more children this type of education? How can we get more children involved in this type of job market where they improve their skills, where they can go into these fields? That's what you're going to hear. You're never going to hear anything about how can we improve men's thought processes? How can we improve their lives where they feel more adequate? How can we bring our men up so that so we can promote families, so we can promote men's mental health awareness? They never speak on things like that. You're never going to see that, even with the whole Democratic platform. You remember when it came out and they had the website, there was no mention of men on that platform. That's why they lost so many men. You see, I'm more conservative, but I realized that long before, because I realized they only care about LGBTQ and women. The Republican Party was the only party that really cared about men. Most places that you deal with, most people that you deal with, they don't care about men. All of the initiatives to get men involved are little to none. I'm gonna say more than not, none. Everything that you see is going to be more women involved. How can we get more women involved in this? We need to get more women hired on these job sites. We need to get more women trained up to do these jobs. There's never anything about getting men involved in these jobs. Nobody really cares. Let's be honest. Nobody really cares. So in return, you notice that a lot of men are like, look, it is what it is. Like I say, we end up taking our lives at higher rates. We end up dealing with issues at higher rates. We don't speak to people. We don't let people know how we feel. We keep things bottled in. That's why you see so many people who walk around every day and put a smile on their face and inside they're hurting. Sometimes you realize somebody committed suicide and you're like, damn, I've been talking to him for days at work. I've been talking to him for months. I've been passing him at the mall. I see him every day at work. He's always smiling. I never knew he was dealing with X, Y, and Z. And I'll tell you another story. At my previous job, my boss, I'll never forget this. Before lunch, he went to lunch at like 12 o'clock. Our supervisor was out this day and he was helping us do certain things or whatnot around the warehouse. And he was just like, he just had a funny attitude, right? So he eventually ended up going to lunch. I don't know if he ever came back or not at the time because we never knew when I just knew he kind of went to lunch around a certain time. I didn't know when he came back or anything like that. So the next day comes around and all of these people are at the job site, right? And it's only like 3 of us that work in this department. So some people from the corporate office come down and they want to talk to us and they bring us in the office. And I'm thinking, oh my, this is it. We finna get fired. I don't know what we did. I don't know what happened. So we go in the office and they say, look, we got these services for y'all, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now, Brad, I hate to say it. I'm sorry, I said his name. He ended up committing suicide. And where he committed suicide was like at our local library area, where you go to the actual library. He was in the parking lot and he took his own life in his car. But I can always remember this. He never looked like what you thought. He was always like cheerful and smiling. And I used to always talk to him. And when I did go in his office from time to time, he did not look like this. But he always smelled like alcohol. And I always thought to myself, is he an alcoholic? But he didn't look like an alcoholic. Like he was well groomed. He wore nice suits. But you know how some people drink a lot of alcohol and you can smell it coming out of their pores? That's who he was. Like, it was strong when you went in his. I'm like, he smells like alcohol. I even told my supervisor this before. But once we heard the news that he actually took his life on our lunch break, I was like, I'll never forget that day. Is because before he went on lunch break, he had a bad attitude. Somebody came to deliver something to the warehouse, and he was just kind of getting an attitude with the guy. It was all it was all out of character for him. So once he did that, and once they came down and told us about it, I said, okay, now I'm seeing what people are always talking about when it comes to men. He never spoke on what he was dealing with. Come to find out, he had issues with his wife. He had issues with his stepkids. He had issues with his whole family. And the wife was cheating on him and all of these different things. And he was obviously coping by drinking every day and suppressing his feelings, because oh, how you doing, man? It was so, once you like, it's so fake. That was so fake. He was just putting on a good show because he was the manager, and he obviously felt like, I can't tell these people how I'm doing. And it was times where I went in his office and just kind of just spoke freely about some stuff, because that's just how I am. I don't really care. I just tell you like it is or what's going on. And I would think, well, I wish he would have just said something to me like, hey, man, to be honest with you, I see you're an open person. Let me tell you this, man. I'm dealing with this. I'm dealing with that. And you ain't got to really speak too much about it, but I just wanted to bounce it off you. Now, if he would have did that, man, I would have been all ears. But most of us as men, we don't know that. We don't know that a lot of people are willing to listen, because we never get that feeling from people that they're willing to listen. We don't know what people are capable of. We know as if we're in relationships, like I said earlier, it's hard to tell your significant other what you're going through because you feel like you're unreliable or you're not enough. So when we get to that point, it's just hard for us to express ourselves. But man, y'all make sure y'all hit the like button, make sure y'all hit the share button on this content, wherever platform you're on, Rumble, YouTube. um I got the link in the description. The link is in the comment section. If you can find it, if you want to come up and speak on this issue, let me know how you feel about this Marshawn Kneeling issue, about this men's mental health issue. I'm all ears. I would like to have a discussion with somebody. Um, just bounce our thoughts and ideas and how most men are feeling. You never know. Also, if you want to just type some comments, look, just type some comments and I can respond to those as well. Just let me know how you feel. Just let me know how you feel. Now, I got some statistics here. It says the age adjusted suicide rate in the US, this is in 2023, was 22.8 per 100,000 for males, 5.9 per 100,000 for females. Among adults age 55 and older in 2021, the suicide rate for men was 29.6 per 100,000. Now, that is a lot. Almost 27 people per 100,000. And women in 2021 was 6.2 per 100,000. And this is for 55-year-old men. That says a lot about what men are going through and that they don't speak on. 3.85% more often than females in 2022, men committed suicide. In 2024, 17% of men in the U.S. received mental health treatment counseling in the past year. Now, those are just the men who actually went to counseling. There are a lot more men who need counseling than say that they do. Because look at this stat. It says something to highlight. About 10% of men experience depression or anxiety, but fewer than half receive treatment, which goes back to my point. A lot of us don't even seek out treatment. A lot of us don't even go out and find out what's wrong with us. We just believe that internally, that's what we were raised to do, was just to say, look, I can handle this on my own. I can figure this out. I can get through this. And a lot of times, most of us can. Most men can overcome a lot of these things, because I have. I never went to treatment for the other issue that I told you. I just eventually was like, that's not the way to go about it. That's not the way to go about it. I can handle this better. I'm just gonna have to suck it up. I'm just gonna have to suck it up. Let's see what else. What other statistics did I pull up? I don't have too many more statistics. I'm just here to trying to figure out what people think about this men's mental health issue, because this Marshawn Neely incident was a wake up call for a lot of people, knowing that he was a professional athlete, made a lot of money, and he felt like he had to take his own life. Like there was no help, nobody he could talk to. And you would think with him being in the NFL that they had some type of program for him to talk to, but obviously he didn't seek it out. Because I'm pretty sure that they did. They know about these suicidal issues and mental health issues that go on with these NFL players, especially after this whole CTE stuff. So we know that they're very aware of what's going on with their players. It's just the fact that I'm pretty sure that as a man, as a professional athlete, that he didn't want to put that burden on somebody else. And he felt like it'd just be easier for me just to end it and y'all just not have to worry about me. But those are some of the things we have to get past. We have to get through what's been going on with us. And I think we can. I think that we obviously can make a difference. We obviously can find ways and people that we can talk to. It's just a matter of time of doing certain things. So, but yeah, I said pretty much what I had to say. I'm about to get off of here, and I appreciate y'all coming through. Appreciate y'all checking out the channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Turn on the notifications so you can always be notified whenever I go live or whenever I drop some type of content. If you're on Rumble or any other channel, make sure you do the same thing as well. Make sure you also leave some comments and let me know what you think about the show. And as always, I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.